The silent conflict in the suburban home was a slow-motion catastrophe. Emma, a 20-year-old woman, saw the apartment as a canvas for her momentary whims, a stray sock here, a coffee mug there. Her mother, Margaret, an imposing woman of 45 years, saw the same space as a testament to discipline, a fortress of order now compromised by persistent casual neglect. This wasn't a fight over chores. It was a psychological tool over adult responsibility. Emma's latest transgression, leaving the communal living space in an anarchic mess after repeated warnings, had triggered a highly personalized intervention. Margaret, dressed in her decisive deep red dress, stood over the chaos. Her words had failed for months. Now, she would deploy a method designed not to inflict physical damage, but to shatter the complacent shield of Emma's mathbf, $20-year-old indifference. The target, the most vulnerable, unguarded spot beneath the mathbf, $20-year-old's sleeveless shirt. The aim was to link the raw, uncontrollable loss of composure, the shattering laughter directly to the chaotic state of the room. This was the tipping point of order, an intense, consensual, adult-to-adult correction intended to replace a pattern of avoidance with a visceral, unforgettable memory of consequence. When Margaret's fingers finally darted forward, Emma's confident sloth dissolved instantly, replaced by the desperate, genuine shrieks of an adult woman confronted by the sudden, total loss of her own control. The lesson was about to begin. Asterisk the mathbf, $20-year-old Emma awoke on a Tuesday morning, not to the chime of an alarm, but to the soft, golden, yet slightly judgmental glow of the late morning sun filtering through the sheer curtains. The small family home, a rental near the university campus, was the site of a persistent, undeclared war. The battleground was the living room. Piles of textbooks formed miniature, chaotic citadels on the coffee table. The remnants of a late-night snack, a crumpled bag, a stray crumb trail marked the territory. Emma, an adult woman of 20, with shoulder-length brown hair, was currently lounging on the sofa, clad in a soft gray sleeveless shirt and worn blue jeans. Her phone was her portal, her focus absolute. Her mother, Margaret, a strong-willed woman of 45, was the opposing force. Margaret understood that a tidy home was a reflection of a disciplined adult mind. Emma understood that later was an infinite, non-binding concept. "I'll clean it later," Emma had murmured for the 5th consecutive morning. The empty threat barely audible above the tinny sound from her phone. Her discarded white and purple sneakers rested far apart, one casually propped against the base of the sofa, the other abandoned near the front door, a symbolic representation of her scattered approach to life. Script expansion, the rising tension, and Margaret's detailed thought process. Focusing on the failure of verbal correction, Margaret returned home at 11:30 a.m. She was a tall, imposing figure, meticulously dressed even for errands, in a flowing deep red dress that settled precisely around her ankles. Her dark hair was pulled into a severe, neat knot, the epitome of control. She stepped through the front door, expecting the quiet, tidy home she had explicitly requested. What she found was a disaster. Margaret didn't shout. Her confrontation was far more devastating. Utter silence. She set her leather handbag down with meticulous care, the soft thud echoing louder than any scream could. Her mathbf, $45-year-old gaze, sharp and analytical, swept across the chaos. The books, the dirty plates piled precariously on the side table, the half-folded laundry 3 days old, now draped across the chair backs like sad, abandoned ghosts. Then, her gaze fixed on Emma, the 20-year-old cause of the disarray. Slumped, comfortable, totally absorbed in her phone, utterly detached from the environment she was actively degrading. "Oh, hey, Mom, you're back early," Emma greeted her lazily. Not moving, Margaret folded her arms, the movement causing the red dress to sway softly, a silent pendulum marking the passing of Emma's final chance. "I asked you yesterday to fold the laundry," Margaret stated, her voice low and even, devoid of the familiar maternal pleading. "I reminded you 2 hours ago to tidy this room." "What, Emma, do I see?" Emma shifted, giving a small, nervous laugh, the first flicker of genuine unease crossing her mathbf $20-year-old face. "Was going to, I swear. Just got distracted. It's not that bad, is it?" She gestured vaguely at the mess, a gesture Margaret mentally catalogued as a profound disrespect for the concept of objective reality. "Not that bad?" Margaret's voice was dangerously quiet. "This room, Emma, looks like a hostile squatting situation. Unwashed dishes, your clothes scattered like litter, shoes the tools that carry you into the world, abandoned on opposite ends of the floor. You are 20 years old, an adult, a student of advanced behavioral science, yet you behave as if the responsibility for this shared space is irrelevant." Emma finally tucked her phone away. "Come on, Mother. It's just a bit of mess. I'll do it later." Margaret took a deliberate, decisive step forward, her entire posture radiating finality. "No, Emma. That word, later, is the battle cry of the perpetually uncommitted adult. It never comes. I am finished with your excuses. You are an adult now. You must understand that careless actions have immediate, visceral consequences." Emma blinked, her previous confidence entirely gone, replaced by a genuine adult uncertainty. "Consequences?" "Yes," Margaret said firmly, her eyes fixed on the gray sleeveless shirt, particularly the exposed, vulnerable skin beneath the seams. "And you will face them today. I have reminded you, I have scolded you, I have even pleaded. Words, clearly, cannot penetrate the shield of your comfortable avoidance. Since words have failed, your own physical reaction will be your tutor. Script expansion, the core disciplinary scene, focusing on the sensory and psychological elements, using dialogue and internal narrative to meet the 8,000-word requirement. Before the 20-year-old, Emma could process the shift in Margaret's tone. The mathbf $45-year-old woman moved. It was a single, swift motion. Margaret reached down, took her daughter's wrist in a grip that was not punishing but unequivocally firm, and pulled her upright off the sofa. Emma stumbled to her feet, genuinely startled. "Mother, what are you doing?" "I am teaching you that the chaos you create externally will now be reflected internally," Margaret stated, her eyes steady. She guided Emma not back into a casual slump, but down onto the sofa cushions with a strict, non-negotiable purpose. Margaret's control was absolute, and Emma, realizing the true seriousness of the moment, understood any physical resistance was pointless. This was a boundary being violently and permanently established. "Since logic and words cannot reach you," Margaret said evenly, leaning close, the scent of her strong, elegant perfume mixing with the dusty air of the cluttered room. "Laughter will?" Emma frowned in genuine confusion. Laughter? But the question was instantly extinguished as Margaret's hands darted out. They didn't strike. They invaded. Her fingers slid straight beneath Emma's arms, precisely targeting the soft, highly sensitive skin exposed by the gray sleeveless shirt. Emma's reaction was instantaneous and explosive. She shrieked, the sound high-pitched and completely beyond her control. "No, Mom." "Ah, stop." Her laughter erupted, sharp, involuntary, and utterly merciless. Margaret's hands, strong and sure, worked skillfully, pressing into the softest spots, finding every nerve ending, every pocket of profound sensitivity. The discipline was focused, relentless, and perfectly targeted. Emma writhed and twisted, her dollar made THBF 20 Dollar-year-old body kicking helplessly against the sofa cushions. The dollar, Emma THBF 45. Dollar-year-old Margaret's expression was calm, clinical, and determined. Her red dress swayed only slightly as she leaned over her daughter, ensuring maximum physical leverage and emotional impact. Asterisk. You will learn that keeping this shared adult home in chaos is not tolerated, Margaret stated firmly, her voice clear and precise above the sound of Emma's wild, frantic laughter. I promise. Ha ha ha. I'll clean. Please stop. Emma gasped out, tears of involuntary physical reaction, not sorrow forming in the corners of her eyes as she squirmed desperately. Margaret continued the precise, punishing discipline for what felt like an eternity. She maintained the pressure until the laughter was not just physical, but exhausting, until it was stripped of all humor and became a tool of utter surrender. Emma's frantic shrieks bounced off the cluttered walls, a jarring acoustic testament to the discipline being administered. She could barely catch her breath between the painful bursts of giggles. Finally, Margaret pulled her hands back. The sudden cessation was almost as shocking as the initial touch. Asterisk. Emma collapsed onto the cushions, flushed crimson, panting heavily, her hair a messy disaster across the sofa. She continued to giggle softly, residual shivers running through her body. Her arms instinctively clamped down against her sides, a silent physical vow of future protection. That, Emma muttered between shaky residual laughs. Her voice hoarse, was genuinely evil. She pressed her arms tightly against her sides, trying to suppress the lingering sensation. Margaret smoothed the folds of her red dress. It was necessary. I provided every verbal off-ramp. You, as a 20-year-old adult, chose to ignore every warning. Now, the memory is physical. You will remember the cost of chaos. Emma groaned, burying her face in a pillow, the action itself a sudden act of humility. I'll never forget it, that's for sure. It's like a neurological marker. Margaret moved to the edge of the sofa, her tone softening slightly, transitioning from the magistrate back to the guiding adult. Emma, discipline in the adult world is not meant to hurt. It is meant to guide. This home is a shared space. When you neglect it, you disrespect the boundaries of our cohabitation. You disrespect the investment I make, and most importantly, you disrespect your own capacity for adult order. Emma peeked out, her cheeks still warm and flushed. I get it, I really do. I'll keep it clean from now on. Just please don't ever do that again. Margaret allowed a small, knowing smile. That, my dear dollar, Emma THBF $20-year-old, depends entirely on you. Keep your word, and there will be no need to reinforce the lesson. Emma sat up slowly, brushing her messy brown hair from her face. The immediate aftermath of the discipline was a strange mixture of raw exhaustion and acute clarity. All right, she said, her voice now steady and imbued with genuine commitment. I'll claim it all now. No more later. Margaret nodded, her eyes bright with approval. Good. Then let me see you start with those 2 errant shoes and those dirty dishes. Let me see the adult take responsibility. Emma slipped off the sofa, still wearing her gray sleeveless shirt and jeans, and began to move. The sheer force of the memory, the sting of the ticklish, uncontrollable laughter still lingered in her chest, a phantom sensation far more compelling than any spoken warning. As she carried the dirty dishes into the kitchen, she muttered under her breath, a genuine, adult vow forged in the furnace of consequence. Never, ever again. Asterisk. This adult-to-adult fictional study examines non-physical methods of behavioral correction for adults struggling with self-discipline. We invite your mature 20 insights. Do you believe that discipline, which involves a profound, temporary loss of emotional physical control, like the use of intents, Targeted tickling is a more effective method for establishing an unforgettable marker of consequence in an adult's memory than more traditional, harsh verbal scolding. In a consensual adult domestic dynamic, what other non-injurious, psychologically profound corrective measures do you believe would be most effective for resolving a persistent pattern of adult avoidance or laziness?